Hey everyone, so recently a new show was announced, My Adventures with Green Lantern, which is a spin-off of My Adventures with Superman. It takes place in the same universe as My Adventures with Superman, but this time following the Green Lantern Corps. However, like with My Adventures with Superman, there are a lot of changes and they're playing around with the mythos quite a bit. And I'm not entirely on board with what I'm hearing. In fact, it seems like a lot of people aren't totally on board with it, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. I want to see how it plays out. But there's a Twitter thread here that sums everything up pretty well. They did cite their sources. It came from this article. But the show will be following Jessica Cruz as the protagonist, and it looks like it's going to be taking place in high school. So I guess kind of like DC's Superhero Girls, but instead of going to a superhero high school, they're just going to a regular high school, and she just happens to be Green Lantern. But the article starts with, My Adventures with Green Lantern was first announced in February of this year as a spin-off to Adult Swim's My Adventures with Superman, an anime-influenced take on Superman. My Adventures with Green Lantern will focus on the Green Lantern Jessica Cruz, who has her life upended when a power ring falls from the sky. This iteration of the character will be a high schooler who's chosen to be the ring's champion. So they're basically just, I guess, using the character names, but then making their own backstory for everyone, it seems, just based off of what I know about the other characters that were also going to be featured. As reported by Knight's Edge Media last week, a character description for Jessica states that she'll be 14 to 15 in the series, who had a normal upbringing playing softball and hanging out with her friends Kyle, who is Kyle Rayner from his own Green Lantern adventures, and Nikki, who is Jade, who is also a superhero, until everyone around her hits puberty and she faces bullying. The series picks up when Jessica begins high school and is described as chronically anxious, a trait that's core to her comic counterpart. So it gets into more detail about the characters here. Sources tell Nexus Point News that Kyle and Nikki are confirmed to be Kyle Rayner and Nikki Jones respectively. Other characters confirmed to appear are Alex DeWitt, which I believe this is going to be her first ever appearance outside of the comics, and Kilowog. Details and the direction of Kyle's character are currently under wraps, but he will serve as a love interest to Jessica. So that's kind of weird, I guess. Kyle is his own Green Lantern, first of all, but I'm assuming he's probably going to also end up being a Green Lantern in this series. But right now it kind of sounds like he's just going to be her love interest and eventual boyfriend before I guess he comes into his own as a Green Lantern as well. But the thing is, he and Jessica were never romantically involved as far as I know in the comics. Jessica doesn't really have a set love interest, again as far as I know, but putting her with Kyle just feels a little bit random. Again, we'll have to see how the whole thing plays out, but another thing was that people were upset that Simon Baz doesn't seem like he's going to be in this show at all. If you know the comics, Simon was kind of integral to Jessica's development, but he doesn't seem to be mentioned anywhere when it comes to this show. And I'm not saying that he should be like a love interest or something, just that like if she's going to have a squad, Simon should probably be on that squad. But let's continue. The series will be set in Coast City, which is the city where Hal Jordan is from, and the students will be attending Hal Jordan High School. So I think it's interesting that they named the school after Hal specifically. Hal is actually the second character to have the Green Lantern mantle, but he is the one that most people think of when they think of Green Lantern. But I think it would have made more sense to call the school Alan Scott instead of Hal Jordan, because Alan was the actual first Green Lantern. But still, like naming the school after him instead of him being an active character was a choice. But it seems like they're making a lot of choices here. The status of Hal Jordan in universe is currently unknown. Similar to My Adventures with Superman's Sailor Moon-esque transformation, the influence will carry over to this series with Jessica sporting a Sailor Moon-inspired costume. I mean, I think it's cute, but I also feel like Sailor Moon is its own thing, and the Green Lantern Corps is its own thing. You know what I mean? And sometimes an homage can just feel like they're ripping something off. Like, at least in My Adventures with Superman, he does get to keep his iconic outfit. They didn't put him in, like, Saiyan armor or something. But anyway, the Green Lanterns in this iteration are described as a peacekeeping warrior monks rather than cops, similar to the Green Lantern who appeared in My Adventures with Superman. So again, in the comics, the Green Lantern Corps are basically a police force for the universe, but it looks like they're moving away from that and instead making them like Jedi, but that's what they went with. But anyway, Nikki is described as an overly confident goth high schooler who doesn't care for the approval of others. Nikki is Jessica's lifelong best friend and protective of her, sometimes overly protective. Nikki is likely an adaptation of Nikki Jones from the comics, who becomes the new Jade as part of Lex Luthor's Infinity Inc. And then it just goes over the first issue that she appeared in. It then goes on to talk about Alex. Alex DeWitt is described as the popular girl of the school. She's a softball star and the daughter of politicians. And then it goes on about her first appearance as well. She's known in the comics as Kyle Rayner's first love interest and the victim of the infamous fridging issue where she's brutally murdered by Major Force. So yeah, this was the character who spawned the trope women in refrigerators. And basically they totally reworked her character. This is not at all what she was like in the comics. She was a photographer, first of all. As far as I know, she didn't do sports like at all. And daughter of politicians is also just something they added. But like everything about this show, from what I can tell, just feels very trope heavy. Like they're trying to be relatable and they're making it just like a teen high school show. And they have all these tropes and they just took all these character names like, Kyle Rayner or Alex DeWitt or Nikki, and then just slotted them into these archetypes rather than actually looking at the characters from the comics and adapting them. So like Alex, for example, like having the mean girl be a daughter of like a politician or like a really important figure in the community is very common when it comes to cartoons and other such media that's focused on teens. Like for example, Miraculous Ladybug with Chloe, who is a daughter of the mayor of Paris, or Pacifica from Gravity Falls, who is like the daughter of the richest people in town, and so on and so forth. So they're just like, oh, Kyle Rayner, let's make him the love interest. Nikki Jones, let's make her the cool goth girl and the best friend, and so on and so forth. And I'm not a huge fan of that, I guess. Like, I know they made changes for Maz and stuff, but at least Lois was still a reporter and Jimmy was still also working at but it's like how they made Slade Deathstroke of like blonde pretty boy. That was weird. They're just making all these choices, and I just feel like, if they're gonna make a Green Lantern show, it'd be nice if it was a little more Green Lantern instead of just a generic high school teen show. Especially for Alex, considering the fact that, again, I'm pretty sure this is her first ever cartoon appearance, and now people are gonna know her as the mean girl. But I guess it's better than just being Green Lantern's girlfriend who was murdered and shoved in a fridge. Still, though. But yeah, it just feels like they wanted to make their own show, but they were told to use Green Lantern, and this is what they're doing with it. So it goes on to say that Kilowog, like the other Green Lanterns, is described as a warrior monk and the last surviving Green Lantern. So I guess the core is gone, which is very Emerald Twilight of them, which I guess makes sense because Kyle Rayner's in this show, but still. Again, it kind of feels more like Star Wars with the Jedi and stuff. Anyway, Kilowog served with pride, and an incident in the past involving him resulted in the collapse of the Green Lanterns. Okay, him and not Hal Jordan? What did Kilowog do? But I don't know, let's just move on, I guess. Kilowog serves as a mentor to Jessica. Again, they could have used Simon, but moving on. Kilowog first appeared in 1986, blah, 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 blah. Kilowog is the last surviving member of his race, which I believe is true in the comics as well. I know his planet blew up, but he lost his planet during Crisis on Infinite Earths and was initially created to be one of the Lanterns who joins Hal and John on Earth when the Corps were no longer divided by sectors. Kilowog is best known for serving as the Green Lantern's drill instructor and Hal's mentor. So instead of being a drill sergeant and Hal Jordan's mentor, he is now going to be an intergalactic monk and Jessica Cruz's mentor. Okay, choices were made. I don't know, I guess it's just that, like with My Adventures with Superman, Superman is so ingrained in pop culture that I feel like doing new and different things with the characters isn't that big of a deal. But when you have characters that are more, I don't want to say obscure, but just less common, or characters who have like never appeared outside of comics, and this is largely going to be people's first impressions of them, I'm a little more skeptical. I mean, on Twitter, people didn't seem to be terribly thrilled. I hate everything about this Kyle and Jessica BS, and the fact that it seems like they're doing everything in their power to ignore Simon Baz. Yeah, that's kind of throwing me off too, honestly. This sucks. I liked Jessica. We'll have to see. It's like what this user said. Sometimes people decide a bad description is enough to make people not want to give the show a chance. Imagine if people started hating on Maz before it came out for having Lois as a tomboy, Jimmy as a conspiracy theorist, and Lex starting out as an assistant with hair. Well, to be fair, he also started out with hair in the comics, but you know. But yeah, I do think they have a point. You know, we want to just see how it goes, but admittedly, I am skeptical. Oh yeah, also according to this thread, they're going to have musical numbers, which I'm not entirely sure where that came from, but why would it be a musical? But yeah, I guess we'll have to see and hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So I guess I'll pass the question on to you. What do you guys think of this whole My Adventures with Green Lantern? Do you think it has potential? Do you think it's just too far out there? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to our members: Tyrant Carnivore, Shiny Orc Boy, Depth Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Verdant Range, JVR, Equestron, Norman Sweet Cream, Way Beyond Coincidence, Hunter Rose, 80s Nostalgia Guy, Felix Bam, Lucas Geist, J Draws, Meowsers, Sky, Philip, Isaac Martinez, Garcia XV Legend, Tobias Weller, Bandito Bane, Mac B909, Dakari the Professor, Todd McCaffrey, Omni Fair, Cavalcoj, Strider Exile, Phil C, Killer Bomb, Slawa Saporiguez, Entwined Boot 301, Griffin of Might, Frankie Camarillo, Datadyne Executive, Crimson Phantom, Jin the Goblin, Papa Hud 69, The Gengar King, Daunter, G-Rock, and Chaos Jumper. Thank you for the support, and if you want to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support us that way. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and that part's free. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.